Welcome, I'm Nigel Bailey, landscape and astro photographer, and I am still at Dartmoor. I've been here for a couple of days. My first visit to the moors for a while. That's included a pretty wild camp in my little tent, and that was great, but the wind was crazy, which meant there were some challenges getting the photography done. But I think I cracked what's going to be one of my favourite nightscape images at Emsworthy Rocks. There were a few stars out. Definitely wasn't Milky Way time. Half moon. Maybe a bit more than half actually. But it just goes to show we don't have to have perfect conditions to get some nice night photography. A couple of things to talk about here. One is the pressure that we put on ourselves to perform photographically. I kind of feel that every time I come away on one of these trips, so a little bit more about that later. And then the other, just a little bit of practical guidance if you like. I've been using focus stacking quite a lot, and I'm finding it easier and easier to do that in terms of the kind of system that I'm using and the equipment that I'm using, the software that I'm using, my post-processing techniques with that. And so what I'd kind of like to do, if I get the opportunity today to do any focus stacking, and I'll try and do that, is just to talk you through how I plan for that, how I execute it, and then how I actually process that back in the studio afterwards. So if that's any interest to you, then this is the video for you. In the meantime, I am at Merrivale. I'm just turning you around here. Here we have one of the stone circles at Merrivale. Well, I can say stone circle. This is the remains of well, what we euphemistically call a hut. I'd say this would have been quite a bit more than a hut in terms of its size. It is probably about a good 5 meters across inside. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, actually nearer to 9 meters. And I have taken a photograph of this before. I might show you when there was snow on the ground here. Beautiful conditions, and one of my favorite images of the moors. But right now I'm going to be on my way to King's Tor. Haven't been there before, and despite the fact that I've been here a number of times, I haven't been to King's Tor, and so that's where I'm headed right now. And on the way, when we get there, we'll talk about those things that we just mentioned. Now, I think that this standing stone is a relatively modern one. May have something more to do with quarrying and mining, that kind of thing. Whereas in the distance over there, pretty much where just above my fingertip, but quite small from here, there is another standing stone which is much taller. And I'm pretty sure that is the Neolithic standing stone over there. So we're looking at kind of Neolithic, Bronze Age, and there's 2 stone rows, which I think is quite unusual. Well, maybe 4 depending on how you count them. Put it this way: there's 2 double stone rows. So one of them is about something like 180 meters long, and then the other one is about 280 meters long, I think it is. And so, I mean, they are quite impressive structures. There are burial cists, or at least one burial cist. That's a C-I-S-T, I think, or kist. Maybe it's pronounced kist, I'm not entirely certain. Then you've got stone circles, hut circles, that kind of stuff as well. So, you know, there was a lot going on here. And there must have been quite a few people around. You know, it's not one man and his dog. if there was such things then as one man and his dog, you know, it's not just a couple of people who've come up here to lay these. I mean, that would have been quite an endeavour. And again, it shows quite a degree of kind of social cohesion and organisation to put something like that together. And there's lots of speculation about what it might be for, but it's a fascinating place, and it's one of those places that when the light is right here at the right time of day, it's just quite magical. And so I'm just continually drawn back to here. There's also something about the fact that the views from around here, looking the other way, I mean, I've walked quite a bit of way downhill now, but from higher up, and particularly from up on the moors up there where the tors are, Great Staple Tor, you know, you can see all the way to Plymouth Sound and the sea. So it's a commanding place. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this expectation we place upon ourselves to succeed, to get that shot. In my case, to get that kind of portfolio level, calendar worthy picture, especially of the night skies. I love that chase. All the planning that is needed to make it happen in terms of predicting the right conditions at the right time, making sure that I'm available, the travel, getting the gear right, and going through the right processes to make it happen. But all of that does create a degree of, or a weight of expectation, if you like. One, because I want to make sure that those people who are kind enough to come and look at what it is that I do in my spare time, wandering around on moors and coastline and mountains and whatever, and ancient buildings, that I manage to give something back, if you like, in return for their visit to my website, to YouTube, to Facebook, etc. But it also creates an expectation on myself, because I know just how much has gone into trying to make the most of the opportunities that come, and to make sure that all of that planning actually bears fruit.
Under skies crowned by moons cold below, the tale of time is written here in fallen stone and rising spoil, abandoned all redemption knows.
I haven't really come out necessarily for photography today, so I'm not really feeling that pressure. Today this is more of a video trip and just a nice walk, but I've come across this scene, and I find that this happens is when I take that pressure off myself, then I start to see things differently. And I'm just loving this. In particular, the stepping stones there, kind of stepping stone, feels like it's missing one. It's a little bit dodgy. But but nevertheless it gives away across the stream. There's more just down here, like so there's a couple of places where you could make your way across this little brook. But what struck me was in the middle of this stream, just past those stepping stones, there's this little growth of what look a bit like buttercups. I don't think they are buttercups, but it's something similar to that, growing in the water and just kind of like popping out there. So my thinking is I'm going to do a relatively intimate shot of that little cascade there with those little bright yellow flowers just behind it. And I'll put the polarizer on, we'll take some of the glare off the water and just see how much they stand out against what will then be a darker surface. So it turns out that this particular setup may prove to be a good opportunity to show you a bit about focus stacking as well. Now I'm zoomed out at probably about 110mm here, and with a longer focal range, and I would consider aiming over 100 to be relatively long. The longer the focal length at which we're shooting, the more prone we're going to be to finding part of the picture out of focus. So wide angle lenses like the 15mm Laowa lens that I use, I can photograph at f11, anything from about a couple of meters to infinity is going to be in focus. On my 24-200, that's an f4 to f6.3, and the widest aperture that I can get at 110mm is f6.3. So I've set it to f6.3, and at that focal length, if I focus on the rocks in this image just in front of the flowers themselves are not sharp, and they're only about probably less than a meter apart, and they're about, I would say, 10 meters from me, and my instinct would have been that'll be absolutely fine. The rocks, the cascade and the flowers, they will all be in focus, but they weren't. A quick check on my screen here. I'm probably not really going to see this because there's just too much reflection, but I'll try. But on the screen here, let's have a look. So this is the one at I think f6.3. Yeah, f6.3. And if I zoom in on it, I focused on the rocks there, and looking at the flowers, they are definitely soft. And if I go to the one that I took at f11, they are still a bit soft. And so what I'm going to do, but I want the rocks to be in focus and I want the flowers to be in focus, but even at f11, I didn't have both of those in focus. Now I could go down to a smaller aperture. I could maybe go to f14, f16, but then you hit the diffraction issue. So the smaller the aperture at which you're photographing, the softer the image is going to become because of diffraction within the lens, and I don't want that, so I think I'm going to stick at f11, and I'm going to, there's no great benefit, actually no, I'll stick at f6.3, and the reason for that is it's quite dim. I want ISO 64, I want to use ISO 64 to get as much contrast as I can in this image because the light is very flat. I could make a faster shutter speed by going to ISO 200 or 400, but potentially I'll introduce little bits of noise and I lose a little bit of clarity and contrast. So I'm going to stay at ISO 64 and f6.3, and that gives me a 1/50th of a second shutter speed. which is fine. I think that should, even though there's a little bit of a breeze now, the flowers aren't moving very much, and they'll probably not show movement. But I'll give it a try. If I'm still getting movement at a 50th of a second, then I'm going to have to, I can't use a wider aperture, then I'm going to have to use a higher ISO so that I can get a faster shutter speed. But it's quite a narrow field that I'm trying to photograph in here in terms of the image area that I want to focus. I want the cascade, I want the rocks, and I want the flowers. And from front to back, that's probably about 3, no more than 4 meters. I'm going to focus on the cascade itself, and I will focus on the rocks in the cascade, and then I'll focus on the flowers. And if that is any good, here's that shot. Obviously it has started to rain now that I've sat down for a bite to eat. Only a little bit, not spit spots. It's a bit of a magnet, is this tour. People coming up and down fairly constantly. But I've always seen this area from the other side. Over that way is Staple Tor, and then there's Great Staple Tor, and then there's Roost Tor. And I'm familiar with those. I've spent a lot of time over there, and that kind of feels a bit like my Dartmoor home, if you like. It's really nice change to sit here and look at it from a different perspective. Change of position. It's raining, so it's raining much better now, so I've come down into a slightly more sheltered place out of the breeze and in the lee of these rocks. But there is another kind of pressure that we put on ourselves, isn't there? So it's not just a pressure to get that picture. It's a pressure to get as good a picture as I can get. And I think that's reflected in all kinds of ways in my life as well. It's not just my photography. Sadly, I am a bit of a perfectionist. I just like to do things as well as I can, whether that's carpentry, whether it's the music that I do, because I play guitar and I sing in our church band. I'm a preacher, and everything I do, I feel in some way, I think it's just my character that I have to do it to the best of my ability. And I guess that's how I was brought up, really. And that translates into my photography as well. I don't like to leave a job half done. I don't like to leave and I don't like to leave a location without having made the best of the opportunity to be there. But anyway, there you go, that's just a little bit of me. So I think I'm going to wind this one up here. It's been a good morning. It's got wet, it's been a grey day, but I've found something nice to photograph. We've had a bit of a chat. Just leave me a bit of feedback in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about the whole pressure thing. Also, if you find the tips, some of these technical tips helpful as well, about the focus stacking, that sort of thing, and you'd like to see more of that kind of content, again, just let me know in the comments, because I'd love to do that kind of stuff if it's something that people would like to see. So do check out my website, nigelbaileyphotography.co.uk. Like, subscribe, all those YouTubey things, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.